Thanks very much. Right. My good friend Stuart Goldsmith is going to come out and he's going to interview me. And he's from the Comedian podcast. He's very good at this. What do you think? Yeah! Stuart Goldsmith, everyone. Give him a round of applause. Please. Very good to see you, man. Good to see you. Thanks for doing this. All right.
So, shall we start? Shall we just jump in?
Why wouldn't we? What else?
Tell us about the book. Tell us about the book, because it's an autobiography, but it's not just an autobiography.
No, I did the obviously everyone got the call from the manager at the beginning of COVID going, you've got a choice. You can do a podcast or you can write a book, but you can't do nothing.
Why not podcasting?
Why not podcasting? I'm better than that, Stuart. No, I love a podcast, but I thought it was the right time as well. I've been in comedy for about 20 years. I thought I had I've been around long enough that I felt like an autobiography wouldn't be ridiculous. You know, sometimes when someone's been on, like they were on, I don't know, Love Island for 3 weeks and you go, really, you've got a book out? Motherfucker, please. But I liked the idea. 20 years in, I thought that was about right. And then I started to write it and realised that really what I wanted to write about was the self-help stuff that had allowed me to have a more interesting life.
Gotcha.
Because I felt like I was really lucky. I used to work next door to this theatre. I used to work in Shell Mex House. I used to work for a big oil company, and I made a big switch in my mid-20s. And I sensed there's quite a lot of people that would love to make that change.
Okay. So part of the book is, like, the idea is it's an opportunity to help other people.
I mean, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound like me. It's like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then when you said it, I went, oh, God, no. I mean, this is my thing about self-help books. They're so earnest. Like, if you've ever been to that section of the bookstore, and I love them, genuinely, that kind of stuff changed my life. NLP therapy and CBT and self-help books changed my life, changed the direction of my life, and made everything better. I love it, but my God, they're boring. They're so earnest. There's this tone that they have where you go, but I don't eat crunchy granola and wear Birkenstocks. I'm not a filthy hippie. No offense to any filthy hippies in. But that thing of like going, yeah, I want to sort of write something that has the spirit of that stuff, but isn't boring and has jokes all the way through it. Okay,
so what would you say is the premise of the book?
Anyone can do this. There's nothing special about me. I genuinely think, right, okay, I had a boring life, I've now got an interesting life, and luck was a huge part in that. But I kind of define luck in a very specific way. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's your edge, what you're good at, what you do best, plus sort of hard work and time gets you the thing. So you go, whatever your thing is, whatever you do best. And it's like, that could be a bit confusing as well, because when you're young, you think, well, do you have to be the best in the world? And no, you just have to be, it's what you're best at. And you don't have to be better than anyone else, just better than yourself last year. So you kind of work at something and put the time in, and it kind of pays off. That seems, yeah. I sort of feel like it might be the right time for this as well, because I think everyone's had 18 months off in the pandemic, and it's been a chance to sort of think about, what do I really want from life? And for me, that's the most fundamental question. The most important question in life is, what do you want? Mm-hmm. And I think, genuinely, I will sound like a filthy hippie, but I think wishing wells work. But I don't think they work when people think they work. I think they work before you throw the coin in and make the wish. I think knowing what to wish for is the thing. Knowing who you are, knowing what you want is a huge part of life. And when you're young, you don't know that. No one's telling you that. You think you're finished when you're 18 or 21 or whatever it is.
Okay.
So yeah, I suppose I should talk about writing the book.
Well, yeah, because you wrote it in the middle of the pandemic, and I think a lot of our comedy colleagues went a bit mad during the pandemic because the crutch, the psychological crutch, the endorphins, the sort of the love, the applause of the audiences was taken away from people. A lot of people relied on that, and you are known as one of the hardest working gigging comedians. You're working every night. Was it difficult for you when that wasn't? Sure, two people love that.
Well, Here's the thing about being the hardest working comedian. It's like being the best looking guy in the Burns unit. The bar is pretty low on that one. I don't want to offend any Burns victims in. I know they tend to stick together. There is. But that thing of like writing, like being a hard working comedian, working every night, my life changed hugely 2 years ago because I became a father for the first time. And yeah, it's thank you. It's very nice. And we kept it quiet for as long as we could. The Daily Mail did a story about me once a week for 2 years about why is he pushing this buggy around? What's in the pram? As if I was taking CDs to cash converters. But they were very nice, actually, quite respectful. You know, where it's due. They sort of said, okay, well, he wants to keep that private. Yeah. And now I'm kind of talking about that. But really, for me, writing the book was me shirking my parenting duties. Because if you've had a 1-year-old child in the house, I was going, love, I can't, because I've got to write the book, haven't I? So this was me skiving off.
Very shrewd.
And I liked the idea of leaving something to my son that isn't just some dick jokes. And this is what I think about life. So this book is an approximation. If we went, I've given it to a couple of my friends, and I think I'm right in saying this book is a pretty good approximation of a long lunch and a walk with me for an afternoon. That's what I'm like. I like funny stuff, and I like interesting questions. I don't like small talk. I like kind of cutting to the chase and talking about important shit, and that's what's in it.
Okay. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was I felt like I got to know you a lot more than I have done from your comedy, because your comedy sort of exists outside of your real life in a way that's unlike a lot of the other comics of similar stature to you, where they would come on and we know their family members, we know their life situation, they're telling stories about themselves. That's very different for yours. Are you going to keep your child out of the spotlight? You know, are you going to become more revelatory or what? I
mean, I think I'm probably going to talk about it, but I mean, it was a weird thing so I had this baby 2 years ago, and a lot of you will have babies. This isn't like huge news, but I had the baby, and obviously there's that thing of, I was worried it was going to change me, that somehow I would soften. And I had this baby. So here's a couple of stories. So we had it in St Mary's, the baby, and it's tiny, like really preemie, and nothing fit. So the cute little outfits you buy, nothing fits. So I've got to go out on the first day and buy an outfit for my newborn child. And I went to the store, and I bought like a bunch of baby outfits. And the lady said, "Do you want the coat hangers?" And I said, "It's a bit late for that." But then that's the same. But genuinely, I think people are complex. I will happily tell that joke, but I also, here's the way I describe having a child. It's like having a medical procedure where your heart now lives outside your body. It's phenomenal, and the capacity for, anxiety kind of goes through the roof, and it's a beautiful thing. It's really lovely. And obviously, the celebrity... Thanks, man. One guy's fucking behind me. Good on you. Obviously, Thanks. There's the celebrity thing of... I would like to keep him out of the public eye as much as possible. I mean, obviously, there's that celebrity thing where a lot of celebrities give their kid a crazy name and they regret it later. But if you saw him, he looks like an Adolf. He looks like an Adolf. No, he's adorable. So
I don't think there is any danger that parenthood has or will soften you. But you have changed in other ways over the last 2 years or so. Visually.
I mean, huge. I'm basically in an arms race with Catherine Ryan on plastic surgery. She brings a gun, I bring a knife. It's like... So I had the hair transplant in between the lockdowns. So really some fans of hair transplants? But I looked like a vampire's accountant was the look, right? I had the big Widow's Peak snooker player from the 70s look. And I thought, well, I think I could do better than that. So what they do is they take the hair from the back of your head and they replant it kind of here on the front of your head. And so, which is fine, and it fills in the... Now, you know that sensation you get when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? Now when that happens, this goes spiky. Mental. I've had that. I had the teeth done a couple of years ago. Yeah. So the teeth thing, I don't know if anyone's had their teeth done, but they give you... I had all my teeth done in one day, because my touring schedule was such, we share a manager, and she likes money. So I work all right, Hannah. I work every day. So we only had a day to do it. So they knocked, they have to take off...
They knocked?
They knock out your fucking teeth and put in new teeth. So they say you wouldn't be able to take the pain even if you wanted to, you nutter. And they give you intravenously Rohypnol. Like they put it, that's what it's for. So you're not out of it, but you're like a little bit kind of woozy, and then you come to no pain, but some discomfort, but no pain, about 8 in the evening. But the next day, my fucking arse.
Is it some sort of quest to achieve immortality?
I think it might be. I think it's a little bit of a midlife crisis, and I'm very comfortable with that. I talk about that in the book as well. I think as long as you know what's going on, it's okay to say, well, there's a bit of a midlife crisis, and being a dad and wanting to be a younger dad than I am is slightly a quest. I also, I'm going to have a son. I'm going to have a teenage son when I'm in my 60s. I don't want to be shocked by anything, so I've had enough Botox that won't happen. He certainly won't be aware. Famously, they say you can't avoid death and taxes. I'm trying to dodge both. I'm hoping when the Grim Reaper turns up, he won't recognize me, he'll move straight on.
We'll come back to that maybe in a bit.
Sure.
One of the things about your book, learning about your actual life, because we don't hear much about your actual life, your history and what have you, one of the things that's really striking in the book is you talk about your relationship with your mother, and you were incredibly close to her.
Yeah. Yeah, I was, and I think most comedians, listen, you've interviewed everyone, but most comedians, if you meet a comic, I always think the question to ask, the interesting question is, which one of your parents was sick?
Yeah.
It tends to be they had a sick parent, either physically or emotionally. My mother was depressed, but they had a parent that made the atmosphere in the house strange somehow, and they had to make things okay. And so that was that was my childhood. But obviously, you think that's normal. If you've gone through that, if you have a parent that's depressed, you just think that's normal. You think, well, mum's in her dressing gown, of course. She hasn't got up today. That becomes your normal. But she was depressed, but she was also fucking hilarious. Really funny, larger-than-life, charismatic woman. And yeah, when she died, it's a very hard thing. And it was a hard thing to write about, but that's actually where the book came from. It was, Adam Kay that wrote that book, This Is Gonna Hurt. He called me about maybe 2-3 weeks into the pandemic and said, we're going to do a book for the NHS, and we're all going to write a little piece about what the NHS means to us. And so I wrote a piece about my mother. And then that was the piece that kind of set the ball rolling. And I really enjoyed the experience of spending some time thinking about her and remembering that, because I think I'd slightly swallowed the grief. I just part of the reason I worked so hard was I was starting doing comedy when my mum died, and I just pushed myself into it even more and just worked all the time.
Is it cathartic to tell, because your mum, as you say in the book, your mum was really funny and had a really dark sense of humour. Is it cathartic for you to be on stage telling jokes, horrible jokes about your mum being a fat slag who's now in hell, and all these kind of
I think fat slag, I can say it. But when you call my mum a fat slag...
Well, I'm quoting you.
Well, yeah, sure, she didn't take great care of herself physically, and and sure, she caught a dick or two, but tremendously funny woman. I think she's the whole reason I got into comedy, because, as well, people think my laugh is weird. My laugh's a bit weird, right? So instead of an out, I laugh on an in, so it's instead of a ha-ha, it's a ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. It's a ha-ha. It's a bit different when it's a real laugh, but that's the ha-ha. That's the gist of it, right? It's like a donkey fucking a seal vibe. It's like ha-ha-ha-ha. A learning disabled goose having a panic attack. I had the second weirdest laugh in my house. My mother's laugh was genuinely a lot weirder than mine. So my mother had narcolepsy, which is a sleep disorder, and she had cataplexy, which is a part of that where you lose muscular control when you laugh. You ever met someone that makes no noise when they laugh? Nothing. Mm-hmm. They're just doing a little... You can tell they're laughing, but a little bobbly head. I see quite a lot of them, because I often can see 1,000 people in front of me, and they're like, oh. It's a little laugh, but no noise. My mum had quite an extreme version, so when she laughed, if she properly laughed, she would lose, she'd properly fucking... She would stroke out. I shouldn't really joke about strokes. If I ever have a stroke, I'll be laughing on the other side of my face. I feel like with that stroke joke, I've really let the side down. Anyway. if she walked in with a tray of teas, if you could say shit funny enough, she would fucking melt. a witch in The Wizard of Oz. So I think that joy of laughter that she had, and also that way of medicating through laughter, using laughter as a means of making life better. And really that's kind of what the book's about as well. Yeah. The idea that how you see the world is much more important than how the world is. Disposition is more important than position. I keep on repeating that in the book because it's so obvious to me, but I think the world makes it look a different way. 95% of your life is how you look at it. 5% is what happens to you.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
We're talking about loss. Shall we talk about Sean?
Thank you. It's nice. It's nice. It's a nice thing. It really reminded me of when my mother died. And I suppose there's a part of Sean that's kind of was a father figure. He was 10 years older than me, and he was an incredibly important figure in my life. And it wasn't until he died, really, that I acknowledged that I was sort of in a double act on TV. With him, we did like over 250 TV shows together. And I don't think anyone really made me laugh like him. And I think I've given it quite a lot of thought, obviously. I mean, after he died, the next day I was in bits. I was just, crying a lot and watching videos and laughing and crying and whatever, as you do. And then it really hit me the second day, physically. I got really sick. I got like a flu. I thought it was fucking COVID. And then I lost my voice. It was like my voice was really croaky. And I went to see this physio guy called Fabby, my physio guy. And I said, I've lost my voice. And he said, what's going on? And I said, I'm recently bereaved. He went, oh, right, yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah. You lose your voice because you've got nothing to say. Oh, man. And I really felt like the physical effect of it. And I think the way he made me laugh was because of the way Sean looked. Like if Sean turned up at your house and said, I'm here to fix your boiler, come right through, I'll make you a cup of tea, I imagine you take 5 sugars. He had the look of a working man, right? So but he was doing this very delicate, sort of flight of fancy, surreal comedy. So it's funny as fuck is exactly right. So he had this thing where everything was heightened because it was so left field. It was like this amazing ability to just catch me off guard. So, I mean, literally on Cats Does Countdown, I had to keep like tissues under my desk. Actually, 2 sets, one for him, one for Rachel. The Rachel thing's weird, like the Cats Countdown thing of like that show being something that me and Sean, at the time when we got pitched it was Channel 4 mashup, and they went, oh, will you do a version of Cats Does Countdown? And we both went, I mean, I guess it's better than Body Swap. What? Yeah, all right. So we agreed to do one. We made it 45 minutes long, the first one, and we thought, well, we're going to run out of idea after 20 minutes, but fine. And then it's just run, and people have really enjoyed it. And there's a lovely thing thinking about Sean now. There's that quote that you die twice. You die when you die, but you also die the last time someone says your name. And it feels like with all that stuff, all of his comedies out there, and people share it, and they still enjoy it, and they still laugh, and it feels like he's still with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice. It is a nice thing. Lovely.
The nature of that double act that you had with Sean, do you think, like you said, he's kind of like a working class there to fix your boiler, do you think that was part of the dynamic between you as the kind of high status, or not even status, but like you're the upper class guy and the working class guy? Have you kind of thought about that?
I mean, weirdly, I think that is right, but I've never really given it much thought because I don't see myself as the upper class guy. I think I'm quite well spoken, and I certainly went to a very good university and all that stuff, but I was born, raised in Slough, and from Irish immigrant parents. I really felt Irish growing up. And I don't sort of present myself as Irish because I'm, what they refer to as a plastic paddy. Have we got proper Irish people in? Yeah. So I'm like a plastic paddy, got the Irish passport, Irish parents, first generation immigrant in the UK. So, I speak and present myself in this way. But just shows what you can do when you apply yourselves. But I really thought of myself as kind of Irish and fairly working class. We went to the local school. We didn't go to fancy posh schools or anything. Yeah. But I think you have to, and part of the thing that I talk about in the book is you have to know how you're perceived. Knowing who you are it's all about knowing how you are in yourself and also how you're perceived. So I see myself as an Irish immigrant a working class guy, but the world sees me as a posh Cambridge graduate, and it's important to fucking know that and to work with it.
Because that's part of your edge, isn't it? When you talk in the book about leaning into your edge.
Knowing who you are, knowing
Yeah.
what you're good at, yeah. I think it's an incredibly important thing that we don't spend enough time on.
Before we move on from Sean, can you tell us, can you give us a little bit of the inside story of Carrot in a Box?
Sure. Picture the scene, the Cats countdown. No, it was the Cats office, right? The regular 8 out of 10 Cats. And we were doing a Christmas special, and we had made, I think, 20 episodes that year, and we were out of idea. And someone said, we've got this idea for a game show. They thought it was going to be an ITV game show called Carrot in a Box. They were, like, clearly on something. And they went, well, we could play that. It's Christmas, why don't we play games? And they pitched it to me and John Richardson and Sean Locke, and me and John went, I don't really think there's anything in it. And Sean went, we should do that. And then he did, and not only did he win, he psychologically destroyed John. I mean, ruined him. Absolutely ruined him. I mean, it's such a fun show to make. I mean, obviously, I get asked all the time about Rachel on the show, which is an odd... Yeah, this is what I get. I'll be in a hotel or a bar, whatever, late at night. Guys won't even say hello to me. They'll just come up to me and go, have you fucked Rachel Riley? And you go, dude, yeah. But you've got to promise not to tell her. She just thinks she gets sleepy when she drinks. That's a joke, obviously. But I'm not saying I wouldn't. I mean, obviously it's never going to happen, is it? Rachel's in a happy marriage. I'm also in a relationship. It's never going to happen, but if it did, I would ride that like a stolen bike. I don't want to be crude because there's younger people in, but what I'm saying is I would crawl over broken glass to suck the cock of the last man that fucked her. No, but all I'm saying is, please, she's a very intelligent woman, and she's beautiful, and she's fun. She's got a great sense of humour. So what I'm saying is I would fuck her until the neighbours complained about the smell. Just trying to be honest here. She's so fit, I'd fuck her dad. Here's the thing with that. My favourite thing about those jokes or whatever, and the thing with Rachel is we're legit really good friends. So whenever I write a joke about her or do a joke about her on stage, I always call her and go, all right, Rach, how's Pasha? How's the kids? All right, yeah? No, I've just written a joke about you. Go on. Aww. It's about how I'd fuck your dad.
I'm kind of glad,
She's
I'm kind of
so cool.
relieved to know that she's on board with it.
Oh, she's totally cool, you know. Actually, so is Susie Dent's great on the show as well. I mean, Christ, she can take a joke. And a dick. No. That came out of just being, when you're in a writing room and you're doing a show like that and we're writing jokes about Rachel and Susie every week, we just ran out of ideas. And one day in the writing room, I just went, what if Susie's a slag? And the notion of her, this nicest woman in the world, we went, what if she's just a cock goblin slut? And we just fell about laughing at the idea. Clearly not the case. And she's gone, yeah, fine. She's made Dictionary Corner her own, because now it vibrates.
I feel like just to turn the tables for a moment, perhaps on behalf of Susie and Rachel, maybe we should change what we're talking about. Maybe I could ask you about how it felt to sort of write in the book, to really open up about your, shall we say, financial journey.
I mean, that is the nicest that question has ever been phrased. Yeah, I think if you bought a biography by me and I didn't mention being publicly shamed over tax, you would feel shortchanged. Very much like HMRC did. I mean, you've got to, I mean, listen, I did it, I held my hands up, I apologized, paid it back, but it couldn't have gone any worse. People are interested, I think, though, do you want to know how much money I saved in tax? Yeah. Like the actual figure? Yeah. You interested to know? Yeah. Fuck all. Despite quite a lot of effort on my part. It couldn't have gone any worse. I'm the only person in this room, I'm confident saying it, the only person in this room that would have been better off financially taking advice from a Nigerian general over email. Every day's a school day, though. Something like that happens, and you learn a thing or two. You know, I've become quite the expert in tax. Oh, I'll give you advice on it right now. If you get a letter through from HMRC, do the responsible thing, pop it in the recycling. Don't worry about the letter. They will send another letter. Okay. Those cunts love a letter. If, on the other hand, keep them peeled for this, if the Prime Minister of the country that you live in breaks off from the G20 summit, he's in a meeting with the 19 most important people in the world, and he comes out early to a press conference where he talks about nothing other than your personal tax affairs, that is going to be a problem. Although, in my defence, I never fucked a pig.
Do you feel that you've been sort of forgiven by your following? Like this reaction now, do you feel that kind of seals a man shouting yes? Do you feel that speaks for your...
I think I got lucky because, you know, the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion, if you're not aware, about 18 months in prison. I came down on the right side of, like, it was a dodgy thing to do, but it wasn't a legal thing to do. People were very forgiving. I tell you who was the nicest. Builders and black cab drivers. Like from building sites around London, oh, you've done nothing wrong, son! And every taxi driver, all right? Yeah, they fucking turned you over, didn't they? It's going to be cash, though, isn't it?
What was the reaction amongst like your colleagues in comedy?
I mean, it was the great thing was, you know, there's that lovely phrase, we cannot forgive what we cannot punish. It was quite easy for me to see what to do. Some people get cancelled over something and they don't know what to do, and they won't be forgiven, and it lasts forever. And for mine, it was like, pay it back, say sorry. Okay. And people were pretty nice about it, and I sort of took my medicine. I was on 8 out of 10 Cats this week. I was doing a topical comedy show about the most talked about things this week, and I was the most talked about thing. And often you credit comedians or people, the on-screen talent, with being clever, and I wasn't. But my producer was clever. My producer, Ruth Phillips, took me to one side and said, you've just got to take it. You've got to take your medicine and just let them rip into you and don't say a fucking word. Do not clap back. Best advice I ever got. Because Sean was on the show. He was fucking brilliantly funny. He said, everyone prepares for a rainy day. You're more set up than Noah. So good. I was among friends. Mickey Flanagan was there. I mean, you know where Mickey's from. He's done a couple of scaffolding jobs for cash. Sarah Millican was so funny and so warm, and I felt like I was amongst friends. They ripped into me, and that was like being in the stocks. And tomatoes thrown at you, and you take your medicine, and you say sorry, and it's over, it's done. I mean, the effect on me long term was, it really hit me. I think a lot of people thought I was quite cool with it. Like that I would be, because of the kind of comedy that I do, I'll be fine. My anxiety flared. I didn't sleep for about 4 or 5 days. I was taking some medication. I was zombie-like for the week, getting through it. And I felt like I was going to lose everything. And you sort of realize how much you like your life.
Yeah. And did you have people around you? Did you have people supporting you? Or did you ever feel like...
I mean, I had my yeah. I mean, you really find out who your friends are, which is awful in a couple of respects, where you thought, I thought that guy was a really close friend, and then they were kind of gleeful that you'd been brought down a peg or two, and you go, But I'm not interested in fair weather friends. I'm not interested in people that are just there for that. I like a foul weather friend. I remember James Corden was doing One Man, Two Governors on Broadway when the story broke on the Monday. And he called me on the Monday night in his interval, like he's got 20 minutes off in this very physically demanding show. And he phoned me and just went, you all right? You all right? No one gives a fuck. You're fine. Still, we got you. You're fine. And I really needed to hear it. And it meant the absolute world. And then I said, oh, thanks, whatever. And then he called the next night and did the same thing. And again, you still need, and then the next night, and the next night. And I really felt cared for and looked after, and like, you've still got your mates. And you never forget that. And I suppose the lesson from that, and the thing that I put in the book is, if you've got someone that, a friend, a relative, whatever, that's going through hard times, call. I always call now on the day. And even if it's something embarrassing or weird, or you're not quite sure what to say, just phone and go, I don't know what to say. It's so much better than not calling.
Your anxiety...
Thanks.
You mentioned there your anxiety, and that's something I just had no idea that you ever suffered from. You seem so impenetrable when you see you in these kind of high-status hosting roles on TV. And in the book, you talk about was it a lifelong battle with anxiety? You wake up anxious?
Not really. Yeah, I wake up at about 5 a.m. With a panic attack most days, more often than not, which isn't great. But people have got it worse than me. You know, I don't need to medicate. I can kind of white knuckle it. I try and see how many people suffer with anxiety. By round of applause. Yeah. There's a lot of us, right? And the way that I see it is it's the kind of negative side of having a creative mind. So your mind is racing, so you're going to overthink things. And there's methods of kind of dealing with it, but I try and see it as a positive and go, look, all of the good stuff, okay, so it comes with this as well, and that's okay. I think the more that people talk about it and share, the better. Because, you know, the thing that every therapist should tell you, I kind of say it in the book, but every therapist should sit you down and go, you know there's other therapies, it's not just me. Because I'm not really interested in the Freudian sit on a couch and talk about your relationship with your mother. I know where it all comes from. So that thing of like, what am I going to do to deal with it? And that thing of like going, well, it could be CBT or it could be NLP or something. You know, those therapies are available and they're really sort of valuable and really work. And
you've really kind of walked the walk there. Like you describe from a really inside perspective how those different therapies have affected you because you've done loads of that stuff. There was a moment, I wanted to ask you, there's a moment in the book where you refer to dancing the 5 rhythms during a thunderstorm. And I honestly couldn't tell whether that was you taking the piss out of hippie bullshit or a thing you've genuinely done.
I've done all that hippie bullshit.
You've done it?
All of Dancing the 5 Rhythms, I couldn't recommend it highly enough. Beautiful experience. Walking on hot coals.
Okay.
Fucking nothing. Don't worry about it. Pointless exercise.
Is there good and bad therapy? Do you undergo a thing and go... Ugh.
I think there's a lot of therapy. The walking on coals thing is just to like G's people up, but it doesn't specifically tell them what to do.
Okay.
So you get a lot of kind of excitement, but then what's the next step? What am I going to do next? And I'm much more into the therapy, and the stuff that I tried to put in the book was that stuff of going, okay, so what's tomorrow? What we doing next?
And are you motivated to write about it from the perspective of working through it for yourself as much as from the perspective of trying to help other people?
At the end of the book, I sort of do, right at the end, I sort of do a little summing up of like all the things, and I read it back and went, I do about half this shit about half the time. But I'd be a fucking superstar if I did it all. So part of the act of writing it is to kind of remind yourself, oh, actually, you should do more of this.
And there's something about your job, there's something about doing stand-up comedy and the fact that that relies upon having a healthy relationship with failure that probably, like that helps, right? That you can lean into the idea of failing, get comfortable with it.
Well, if there's any reason to kind of write the book, it's to kind of to get away from the Instagram world of perfection that people see, because all you see on Instagram and in the social media world is perfection. You see results, and you never see the hard work, and you never see the anxiety, you never see anything else. So stripping that away, I think, is quite important because it just seems impossible. I think there's a lot of young people that look at that stuff and just go, it's just a perfect world that I'm not part of, and I don't feel like that. I mean, you have this weird sensation now where people are sort of jealous of their online identity.
Yeah.
Because they're so sort of far removed from it. I'm always smiling in photos, but I don't feel that way inside. And there's a mental health crisis with young people because that world is being portrayed. And people can't live up to it. They can't possibly live up to it. Yeah, it's terrible, right? I think I talk in the book about, quite arrogantly, about comedian superpowers, the things that comedians do better than anyone else. And one of the things is failure. We're really good with failure. Because, you know, if you're trying jokes, I've written more jokes that don't work than anyone else in the room. Maybe you. But, you know, we write a lot of jokes. That wasn't a dig. But that thing of, like, I've written so many jokes that don't work. I've pitched so many shows that didn't get made. I've failed more at comedy than anyone else. And that's what led me to success. And, you know, like, owning that failure and, like, being proud of your failures and, like, that's the kind of battle-worn thing. That's a great way to live. That's a great way to kind of to just to think about it differently.
Can you teach someone, or could you teach yourself to get better at failing, to become more comfortable with failure?
Yeah, you fail in. I mean, the trick is not to fail the same way every time. You fail differently every time, and then eventually you sort of practice so much you kind of practice till you can't get it wrong. Yeah, that's.
Can you give us an example of something you fucked up recently?
I fuck up things all the time. I think owning it's quite an important thing. I've got a couple of stories about, like, in the book as well, about, like, fucking up and owning it and being responsible, and that seems to work. And okay, it's a story. I told it on the news recently, but I'll tell you. So I went to test drive a Tesla. I didn't go to test drive a Tesla. I went to the shopping mall because it was raining. But I was bored, and me and Caroline just thought, all right, we'll go to the shops. Went to Westfield, this big shopping centre in Shepherd's Bush. There's a store in there. We got coffee and food and stuff. We're looking around the shops. There's a store that sells Tesla cars. And I'm amused, because I'm from a different generation, that you can buy a car in a shopping mall. That seems dumb to me. So I went in there and got chatting to the guy. There's a really charming guy in there. And he went, would you want to take one for a test drive? And I went, what now? And he went, yeah, we go right now. And I went, yeah, let's do this. It's exciting. And then we went down. It's one of these ones with the gull wing, like Star Trek doors. It's cool. And we get in it, and Caroline's next to me, and we're whizzing around. It's like a go-kart. They run like go-karts, right? It's really fast talk. I like it. I don't need a car. I've got a car. Don't need a car. Just a bit of fun. I told the guy that. Fine. So we're driving around Shepherd's Bush. Great, this is lovely. Thanks very much. Better get back. And we got back into Westfield. If you've been there, it's fucking enormous. And we got lost in the basement. And so the guy from Tesla goes, oh, right, if I move those cones over there, with just the charging stations over there, we're going to be golden. So he gets out and he moves 5 cones, and so I can drive through. And obviously he's 20 yards over that way, so I just go, well, I'll go and collect him. I hadn't realised his door was open, hit the door on a gantry, hit the door, took the door off. It was hanging by one bit of cable, so it was like the Terminator, but it wasn't dead yet. It still had the light in its eyes. And the guy's I couldn't see that because I was in the car until I got out. So I was just looking at his face going, oh, that's not good. You know that look you get when you've knocked the door off a brand new Tesla? That look. And I just unwound the window and went, I'll take one. Obviously not this one. This one's fucked. So I now own a Tesla.
On the subject of failure and coping, I guess, one of the things you said in the book that really stayed with me is you said, take the worst thing that your inner critic says, walk back the cruelty, and you'll find the truth about you. So with that in mind, take the worst thing your inner critic says, walk back the cruelty, and find the truth. What's the worst thing your inner critic says to you?
I think I could be better. I think I've got a lottery ticket. Like that thing I was saying about luck. I think you sort of make your own luck, and it's hard work and application, and the talent thing is like that just is the illusion. That's what you see. I think I could be better. I think I could work at it harder. And I think coming out of the pandemic, I'm trying to rewrite the show and write better material and change up my style a little bit. I'd like to be one of the greats. I'm not, but I'd like to be. And so that true north is like you're sort of aiming for this thing of going, it's also, comedy's like a task without end. Because you can always get better. You could always be funnier. You could always be a bit sharper. And changing stylistically from doing one-liner stories to slightly longer form stories is like, it's a really interesting thing that I'm working on. I'm working with my friend Amanda Baker at the moment, who's here, who sort of directs my live show and also sort of directed the book, was pushing me to tell more stories and do more things. And I think working with someone is really valuable and just trying to get better. I think your inner critic is always going to go, well, look, this could be funnier.
Is it possible to continually be striving and yet be satisfied at the same time? If you're always wanting to be something better than you are, like if you're not satisfied with the sort of the very high level that you've achieved.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, but this is a self-help book, so I have to say in it 5 times. That's the legal requirement. It's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, right.
I like being a comic. I like the road. I like doing gigs. I like performing for you this evening. I fucking
You like the
love
Showbiz
it.
Parties?
I love a Showbiz Party.
There's a few Showbiz Party stories in the book.
You've got to knock in a few Showbiz Party stories. That's the publisher really insisted on. Come on, drop a few names. So I just like
What's the biggest name drop in the book?
Queen?
Nice.
The Queen, not the fucking band. That's the biggest name drop in the book. Well, I did the Queen's Jubilee. This is really name droppy. We're doing it. Okay. So I did the Queen's Jubilee. So we get a call on the Thursday going, do you want to do the Queen's Jubilee on the Saturday? You'll be introducing Grace Jones in a hula hoop. I went, well, I can't say no to that. That sounds ridiculous. So you get there, and obviously I don't normally work clean. I'm not used to doing, early evening stuff, and the Queen is an older lady, and people say, that you're on your honour not to swear or don't,
Okay.
So stand up there in front of this, it's in the mall, just down there, but 250,000 people in front of me, never mind who's watching at home. It's quite nerve-wracking. I stood up and I went, everyone's really nervous backstage because what's the etiquette? And then I looked at the Queen and just went, just call me Mr. Carr. And it got a really good laugh. It got a smile from her, and it got a really good laugh. And I was quite chuffed. And then a few more gags. Introduce Grace Jones, bang. But you're backstage with it's like being in Madame Tussauds, but you can tell who everyone is. Actually, a lot of them have had more work done than anyway. So, like, the end of the gig, I have to go on again, because everyone had to go on for the encore to sing the national anthem. And I'm stood next to Ed Sheeran. He's a mate of mine. He's a lovely guy. And we stood there, and we've got to go and sing the national anthem. Right, we'll go together. And he's looking at Buckingham Palace. We're back, and he's going, wow, the house is massive. How much money do you think she's got? I went, she's on money, motherfucker. Stevie Wonder's in front of us, right? And he's got his hand on the guy's shoulder to be led out. And he sort of goes, what are we doing? And I went, we're singing the national anthem. And he goes, I don't know the words. And I went, don't worry, they're on auto cue. And Stevie Wonder goes, motherfucker. And then when we walk out, he gets his harmonica out. We're behind him. He gets his harmonica out, and just for me and Ed Sheeran, it's not on the recording, but freestyles over the national anthem just so me and Ed can hear it. It was like magical. So cool. And then we're in the lineup. Before you know it, we're in the lineup. There are enough names in this story. We're in the lineup. I'm standing next to Peter Kay in a Beefeaters outfit.
Nice.
Right? And opposite Paul McCartney. And I go, all right, Paul? Just call him Paul. Brilliant. I go, and then we start chatting about Blackbird, which is my favourite Beatles song, one of my favourite songs of all time, and I'm chatting about the lyrics and the civil rights movement and how did you come about the lyrical, whatever. And Peter just goes, can you talk about something normal? and we both kind of were slightly embarrassed and went, I think I live around the corner from you, because I live quite close to him. And then we started talking about the best place to get a vegan breakfast in our neighbourhood, because my missus is vegan, so we knew. We talked about tofu scramble.
Nice.
And we got interrupted, quite rudely, I felt, by the Queen. So the Queen potters along, and so he walks there, and I said, that reminds me, I've got to buy stamps. Second laugh from the Queen, brilliant. And then before you know it, we're at like properly, like a showbiz party, but it's in Buckingham Palace, like not in a side, like in the main bit of Buckingham Palace. And I was like overexcited. And I don't really drink that much, but I was like, I'll have a few, come on, this is crazy. And Prince Harry's there. And Prince Harry had done an interview with the tabloids like the week before, where he went, oh, no one wants to be my girlfriend. He just split up with a girl. He went, no one wants to be my girlfriend because of the pressure of the job. And I went up to him and went, yeah, because famously, no young girls want to be princesses. Turns out he was fucking right. That job's a lot of pressure. But at the time, and I'd been teasing Cheryl Cole all day. I'd been going, oh, you're single. She's just broken up with someone. And I said, you're single. Harry's single. I'm going to set you up later on. She was going, oh, no, Pat. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, don't. Stop teasing. No, don't. You're embarrassing me. Because she's adorable. And so I went up to Harry. I was having this conversation. I went, look, I hope you don't mind, but I've been teasing Cheryl Cole all day because she's single, you're single. I was just, if you go up to her, she'll die because I said I was going to set you up. And he went, yeah, great, let's do this. I went up to her and introduced and was incredibly charming, and she was fucking terrified. I think she dodged a bullet in the end. Well done. Fucking, yeah, those two, great. I got a tap on my shoulder, right? So it's about an hour later, properly drunk at this stage. I get a tap on my shoulder. I think it's probably security. I'm getting kicked out. I've said something terrible. Fine. I've had more than value from this day. And I turn around, it's Prince William. And I go, right? And he goes, I believe I meant to call you Mr. Carr.
That was a very name-heavy story.
Happy to help.
Let's talk about the most important people in your life, which is, of course, the audience. And let's talk about the particular... they pay your bills, don't they?
They pay my bills. Yeah, they do. You're beautiful people. But I can't just go, yes, my audience.
Well, what I want to talk about is specifically your relationship with them. You're the only comic who I've ever seen have like a heckle amnesty. And you're known throughout comedy, really, not just in this country, in America, everything. You are known as someone who just invites heckles and is just unbeatable with hecklers.
Wanker. Feels like you're going to have to do better than that. Yeah, I love heckles, but I love that thing of like going, if you've got an audience, like, and I'm very lucky, I'm not playing the clubs anymore. When you come up through the clubs, it can be quite combative because people haven't paid to see you, you're trying to win them over. When people have bought a ticket to your show, you go, well, that's your crowd, and they've got the same sense of humour as you. So even if someone shouts something abusive, you go, it's with love. You're shooting for funny. Great. So it's like taking it on that kind of basis and then enjoying it, and then sometimes the great thing is, sometimes the heckler wins, and that's fine too. Because if it's funny, I remember like being heckled in Edinburgh at Leighton Live, which is a gig that doesn't start till 1 a.m. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everyone's hammered drunk. And it was quite early on. I've been doing comedy about 2 years. I was doing this gig, and it was like a big deal even to get booked on it. You're doing 20 minutes. I was about 15 minutes in, and I was doing great. I was really pleased with how I was doing. And a guy, just like in the middle of a joke, like halfway through a line, a guy just went, "My mum died of cancer." It's like, what the fuck is going on? I went, well, I wasn't talking about mums, and I wasn't talking about cancer. And he went, no, but it was funnier than this. Oh. Just the thing of like shouting stuff out is so good. I mean, I think some of my favourites weren't at comedy shows. I think my favourite ever heckle was at a tennis match. But just some guy in the crowd, I wish I could meet him and shake his hand. So I go and see a lot of tennis. I'm obsessed by tennis. It's my sport. I love it. Actually, my tennis coach is in. Santa's in somewhere. Hi, Santa. I'd love going to see tennis. So I was at Queen's Club. It's got to be 20 years ago now, and I was watching a British player, who shall remain Tim Henman. And he's a great player and a wonderful man, but he was not covering himself in glory on this occasion. He was playing shite. So we're watching the game. I don't know if you watch a lot of tennis, but it's proper man sport. So when they're finished with a couple of games, they come in, they have a little sit down, they eat half a nana, they think about what they've done. As I say, it's a fucking man sport. So as Tim Henman's walking in to have the sit down, a guy in the crowd, not me, just a punter in the crowd goes, "There's a bit of shit at the end of your racket." And he looked. And the bloke went, "Not that end." "Yes, please, more like that."
I love
so good.
I just love the appreciation you have for like the elements of that. Just like, poetry.
The fact that he had to wait for it to drop.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one I loved was like, wasn't really a heckle. I had a mate that was doing a gig in Edinburgh. It was like, again, late at night, everyone's drunk, but it was above a pub. Like, there's about 20 people in a function room above a pub. 20 people, 12:30 at night, everyone's plastered. And this guy, he's a funny bloke, actually. I won't mention his name, but he was dying on his arse, like horrific death. And a guy didn't heckle to be nasty, but just turned to his friend and whispered, and it just carried. He just went, "There used to be a pool table in here."
That's so brutal. It's so
You know what? Let's do a few more.
Well, I wanted to ask you about like the emotional state you're in when you're inviting heckles, all that stuff. But now I just want to hear all your favourite heckles that anyone's ever done.
Well, the late great Ken Dodd.
Oh yeah.
And Ken Dodd he's an amazing performer. Gigged to the end of his life as well. I've loved him. Also, evaded quite a lot of tax. He was cleared by a jury of his peers in Liverpool. Make of that what you will. You know, Ken Dodd stood up in a court of law being charged for tax evasion. They found a room full of money in his house. He hadn't paid tax in 40 years. It was unbelievable. So, nothing but respect for him. So there's a money, and he said, this is so good, Ken Dodd, he said, I didn't think I had to pay the inland revenue because I live by the sea. Also, he received, I think, maybe the greatest ever heckle, the hardest thing to come back from. So he's at the Glasgow Empire, which is famously, back in the day, the hardest room to play. And he was playing it on an old firm day. So Celtic and Rangers have played. That's the roughest day in the roughest town in Great Britain. It's Glasgow at its absolute best and worst, depending on your view. So he's on stage. People, fake illness to not go on stage. He went on. He's destroying. The people are just in tears, laughing, rolling. He's amazing, force of nature, in the height of his powers. And a guy, front and centre, there's a massive laugh and a lull, and Ken Dodd's just about to do the next line, and the guy goes, "It's all very funny if you like laughing." The fuck do you say to that?
Something people in the UK might not know. We've all seen you judging roast battle on TV in the UK, but something people might not know is that you are kind of feared throughout Northern America as the undisputed champion of roast battles at the the Montreal Comedy Festival. Every year they do like a sort of tournament, an invitational roast battle, and people quake in their boots. What's your secret to writing the perfect roast? What's the plan of attack?
So I like that. There's Roast Battle at UK here, which is a really fun show to do, but it's kind of not about them. It's just that thing of going, it's just about the joke. Writing good jokes is the thing, and then if you think of something funny, you have to say it. You're on your honour to say the funniest thing you can. I don't mind how cruel it might be perceived as. You got to go for it. I did one recently, actually. It was my friend's birthday. David Williams turned 50, and I did, and he asked me to say a few words. Now, what happened was, he'd opened the evening, he gave a little speech at the beginning, welcoming all his friends and saying, it's great to have you here. And then he said at the end of his speech, he went, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the doctors and nurses that have worked tirelessly the last 18 months on Jimmy Carr's new face. So they opened with that, and then I had to. This is another name-dropping story, but I had to follow Elton John. So Elton John played at the party, and he didn't just play, he played beautifully. He did like Tiny Dancer, Rocket Man, and then your song, three best songs. Incredible. And then someone went, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Carr." How the fuck do you follow that? So I went in quite reasonably hard. I said David Williams changed his name from Williams to Williams to get off that bloody register. And then I said, he's always impeccably dressed. I'm not surprised he spent that long in the fucking closet. And I said, David Williams looks like he's put his face through a Snapchat filter that makes old Chinese men look like Western homosexuals. Funny because it's true.
What's the kind of, because the culture of roast jokes is to say the unsayable. What's the most unsayable joke you've ever gotten away with?
I got in trouble with Fox News for doing a joke. I was like the number 3 story on the news. I did one of the Comedy Central roasts. I did the roast of Rob Lowe, and there was a lady on it called, let's call her a lady. Fuck it. There was a lady on it called Ann Coulter, who's a right-wing commentator, big Trump supporter. She's sort of like their Piers Morgan.
Okay.
And Piers Morgan is actually a close personal cunt. So I did a joke about Ann Coulter, which was, I think the joke was, Ann Coulter is the most repugnant, hateful, hatchet-faced bitches alive, but it's not too late to change, Anne. You could kill yourself.
Did you do that little dance afterwards?
I know, I was looking directly at her. I followed it with Ann Coulter's pussy is so old and dry, it just got a job drawing cartoons for The New Yorker. No, I got in trouble for that, but that definitely wasn't the worst thing I said that night.
That wasn't the worst thing you said?
Well, no, because Pete Davidson was on the show.
Oh, God.
Who's a mate of mine. He's on Saturday Night Live. Wonderful comic, but his father died in 9/11. He's one of the firefighters that went into the building and was trying to save people as they collapsed. And I said, I really dressed it up as well. I went, I'm appalled that people would come here and make jokes about the sacrifice Pete's heroic father made on 9/11. This is not the roast of Pete Davidson's father. That was in 2001.
How did Pete react?
I mean, he's a broken man. No, he was fine. He's absolutely fine. I tried it the night before, actually, in the Comedy Store in LA, which is one of my favorite clubs in the world. And I did it, and like the audience was like, your reaction was like, oh, and there was one guy at the back, like, fucking hell, he's laughing loud. Oh, Pete. Of course.
Listen, we'll do a few questions from the audience. Before we do that, just to kind of summarize the book, for those few people in the room who aren't planning to buy the book, can you give us the bullet points of the self-help, the useful stuff?
Okay, well, this is all I know about life. Lean into your edge. If you're good at something, just do that. You know, school teaches you to be more mediocre at, if you're not good at something, they go, we can really get you to a grade C in physics. But the world doesn't fucking need that. No one needs someone who's shit at physics. So just do what you do, don't compromise on that. The world is full of, know who you are as well. Know what you're like as a person. Know how you're perceived. The world is full of people with curly hair and straighteners. They're fighting a losing fucking battle.
Yeah. So can you... Okay, so those are the kind of the bullet points. What are the kind of life lessons?
I put The Secret of Happiness in there. I'm happy to share that.
Please. Oh, this is a great question. Jimmy, please share with us the secret of happiness.
I think genuinely, I think happiness is expectations exceeded. And I think I can prove it. I think everyone has quite a shit time on New Year's and a shit time on their birthday because they think it's going to be the best fucking night ever.
Yeah.
And then the best night you've ever had is like, I don't know, it was a fucking Monday and we saw a thing and then we went for drinks and then we weren't planning to, but we ended up at this place. It's like the expectations exceeded is where happiness lives. So just kind of not getting too overexcited about it and enjoying the process, not the result.
Yeah.
That's it, right? That's life. And I suppose the most fundamental thing is that disposition is more important than position. How you see the world is how you are in the world, much more important than how the world is. If you've met 3 cunts before noon, chances are you're the cunt.
Can't disagree with that. Jimmy, let's do some quick audience questions. So this, I don't know who wrote this one. Who would win in a fight, Rachel Riley or Susie Dent? Oh,
I'd split the... It's difficult. I think let's just all take a moment to picture this. Everyone else has got a paddling pool and they're covered in mud, right? I don't know who would. I presume Susie Dent. She's wiry. Great question.
What do you always have in your fridge?
In my... I don't know what's always in the... I mean, I don't know. I'd have to ask my butler. I don't know where we keep our fridge. I don't know what we've always got. I don't know. You're chilling. I like the fact you're chilling Eurohypnol. Oh, ladies, it's the gentleman rapist. Oh, it's just so much nicer chilled.
Another...
What, sorry? More Botox in the fridge. That would make sense. It's in my surgeon's fridge. It's waiting for me.
What was your first memory of comedy, and when did stand-up really take off for you?
I think my first ever gig was the Tut and Shive, an old pub in Islington. Did 5 minutes, literally in a room above a pub to about 15 people, and it was the start of something. I felt it was like so important to me. And if anyone in here, and there'll be some people in here that are thinking, I might try stand-up, or I'd love to give that a go sometime, I would caution, try it. Just do 5 minutes, because if it doesn't become your career, at minimum, it'll increase your enjoyment of stand-up tenfold, because you'll get to appreciate it a bit more. It's an amazing hobby to have if you don't do it as a job. And if you do it as a hobby, who knows? There'll be people in here, I mean, fucking Ashley's 16, who knows? He's shouting shit out. Maybe not, but you know.
Here's a question. Louis C.K., at the end of Louis C.K.'s latest special, he thanks you. What was that for, and are you close?
Yeah, we're friends, and I don't think anyone is the worst thing they ever did. I think if you're friends with me, you're friends with me, and that's for life. And I guess it was for that.
Fair dues. On to the 4 people trying to start a round of applause, and then giving up. Oh, fair.
Fine. Yeah, I think that's probably an example of being not to blow my own trumpet, but to be a foul weather friend is a magnificent thing to be.
Serious one here. Garden, mushy, or petit pois?
I'm going to go petit pois. I'm going to go petit pois because that guy is such a fucking... he's brilliant. I don't know what's the matter with him. I'd go with a mushy pea. I'm going mushy pea with the fish and chips, yeah.
Working class roots, there we are. Were you the funny... This is verbatim. Were you the funny fucker at school or a big girly swat?
Actually, great question, because I was both. You're 16, right? Okay, you're 16. When I was 16, I changed schools. And you become acutely aware, and I think this is a great thing in life, you become aware you are a story you tell yourself. Like, I don't believe in an afterlife, but I believe in a next life, because it's happened to me a couple of times. When I was 16, I moved schools, and I went from being quite a tearaway. A lot of friends from that school ended up in prison or in a lot of trouble. A lot of them didn't make it, some of them died. It was a rough school. And then I moved to a better school and reinvented myself and went, I'm going to be an academic and go to Cambridge. And I did it with my job. I had a boring job, and then I reinvented myself as a comic. And I'm still the same guy, but you can be different things you can't beat your environment. And sometimes changing environments changes everything. And by environment, I mean not just the place you are, but the people you're with, who you're surrounded with. And when I found the comedy environment, when I surrounded myself with those people, I liked who I was more, and so I stayed there.
Who's your best mate? Who do you hang out with? Are they famous or just a normie?
Wow, that's a very good question. Normal people, I remember them.
It is. It's funny you do mention once or twice in the book some of like old friends. I find it's quite hard to visualize you hanging out with a mate you went to school with that isn't Stephen Hawking or Elton John or something.
A lot of my close friends are slightly kind of father figurey when I analyze it. Yeah. I've got a friend who's like a professor of biotech. Take the fucking vaccine, you idiot. I've got a friend who's a biotech guy in property. A lot of kind of older guys. I mean, yeah, I've got lots of close friends. I've got some that are in the business, some that aren't in the business. But yeah, I value friendship above all, I think. It's fantastic. Because love is unconditional. You have to love certain people. But friendship is conditional.
Have you got time for one more?
Yeah.
You've got an hour to live. What would you eat? Last song you'd listen to, and who would you sleep with? Brackets, it can't be your wife.
Rachel Riley is what I would eat. Great. There's a song that I posted when, not to be mawkish, but there's a song I posted when Sean died by Warren Zevon called Keep Me in Your Heart for a While. I think I would listen to that. Or there's another very good one by Death Cab for Cutie.
Which one?
Called I Will Follow You Into the Dark.
Yeah.
That's a good... If you've got an hour to listen to that, have a good old cry, and then, bunk the missus. Great. Rachel? Rachel Riley again. Yes, okay. I told you, people are fucking obsessed. Stuart Goldsmith, everyone. Thank you very much. I hope that was fun. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. Great. Ta-da! Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Good night!
Hi, I'm Jimmy Carr, the guy you just saw in that video. Thanks for watching it, because somehow I get money from that. I don't know how. I don't know. But probably it filters through some sort of advert that you watched before you watched the video, maybe? Or maybe you subscribed. Anyway, thanks for watching it, and somehow that benefits me. And hopefully I'll see you at a live show at some point further down the sunny road. Good luck.